All right, this is a video on how to integrate Companion and Home Assistant in some cool and unique ways. And I'll just go over some things. We have a bunch of Companion integrations, uh, X32 consoles, HyperDecks, D Live, ProPresenter integration. The important one is Home Assistant here that we have integrated. When you set this up, you'll just need a URL and some access tokens, and you will need to set up Home Assistant, obviously, for that. I'm not going to explain how to set up Home Assistant or Companion. There are a million online videos and written tutorials on this. Go forth and have fun and find the way that works for you. So yeah, and then I have a few other things like projectors and stuff. Okay, and then you have Home Assistant. Uh, I have things. There's a lot of things. Uh, I actually have a fair amount of things. So this is the way I have it set up on the cell phone. This is a dashboard that I custom made through a fantastic tutorial by this guy. He is pretty cool. He knows things and has figured out some stuff. He had a great tutorial. He's got an easy mode and a hard mode for a design. The hard mode looks amazing, but it requires coding YAML code. And I'm an idiot, so I do not know YAML code. So I went easy mode. Easy mode still looks pretty good. And guess what? It's easy. So I like it that way. Uh, that's basically it. He does a great tutorial. If you want to customize your dashboard in Home Assistant like this, just go watch his video. And yeah, do the thing, all the things. It's cool. Mine's pretty nice. You go in and you have your different scenes and stuff, which is cool. I got projectors. I will show how this works in a moment, and a bunch of other things. Okay, and then I have toggles. And then this is up simply because on my iPhone, I have Siri shortcuts set up to toggle actions in the Worship Center on my home screen. So I can toggle the projectors on and off. So let's go to projectors. I'll go in here and I will hit this, but well, actually this won't work, but I'll just hit it here and you will see these turn off. And so both projectors are turning off and the status got updated. Uh, Lots of things happening there. These don't work on my Mac, so I couldn't trigger it here. They work on my phone, but I'm not going to bother screen recording on my phone. Screen recording, words, grammar, gotta talk. Anyways, this is going to be a fun video already. So uh, let's see. Let me slow down. Uh, there's buttons. They do things. There's a bunch of things. Um, but I'm going to try and focus on just the Home Assistant companion thing. You can basically control anything in companion through Home Assistant with enough triggers in companion and enough automations and scenes in Home Assistant. So you can do any action on a button in Home Assistant, but you have to build it correctly. So that's basically what this is. I'm not going to bother showing just setting any of these other things up. Okay, but that's that. Well, yeah, so that's that. So let's get into, I'm going to start at Home Assistant first, and then we'll come back to the important trigger part at the end. There's some things you need to do in Home Assistant to make the triggers work. Okay. Again, it's fun to make your dashboard pretty. But what we're going to need is settings. You want devices and services. We have some Philips Hue, we have some TVs and stuff already in here. But then what we want is helpers. Okay. In helpers, you'll see down here at the bottom right is create helper. And there's a bunch of things in here. Again, Home Assistant is designed for home automation. And we are just taking this process and reusing it for production stuff. Um, And in this case, you're going to need a bunch of toggles. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the family room as an example. And I'm going to point out in here, because I ran into this, there is a button one, but I could not get this to work the way I wanted. So everything is just this toggle. You click on this, you name it, give it an icon if you want, and it creates essentially a dummy switch. It's not a physical switch to anything. It's just a dummy switch that you can trigger. Okay. And you will need for, depending on where you want to control this, you need at least one for companion to look at. But if you want to do series shortcuts on your home screen, um, and even these kind of quick toggles. Actually, no, you don't need it for this. You just need it if you want the series shortcuts. You will need a second button. Okay. Uh, so you need we'll do family room. You need a switch. The switch is what companion's going to be paying attention to, and the family room toggle. I think I forgot to mention. Important thing to understand here. Companion can see Home Assistant. Home Assistant cannot see Companion. You have a one-way communication here. Companion can tell Home Assistant to do things. Home Assistant can't tell Companion to do squat. This process is, in a way, Companion is paying attention to things in Home Assistant, and depending on their status, causes actions to happen. Okay, so that's why Family Room Switch is what Companion pays attention to. Family Room Toggle is what the phone is triggering. Okay, that causes an automation to happen. You'll understand more in a second, but you need two of these. Obviously, I have a lot more. I recommend doing this with one at a time. Don't put all the ones that you want at the moment. Just do two for now. Okay, so we're going to do family room switch, family room toggle. You can label it whatever you want, but make sure it makes sense to you. Okay, once you have those, then we're going to live in automations and scenes. First thing, in scenes, you will need 4 scenes. So you have 2 switches, you need 4 scenes. Okay, you got family room switch off, family room switch on, family room toggle off, family room toggle on. Okay, you need those 4 scenes. So again, 2 switches, 2 dummy switches, 4 scenes. Once you have that built, okay, then you have automations. So we'll go into the family room automation. Okay. What is going on here is you have your family room toggle. Okay. When this toggle changes from off to on, okay, off to on, okay, then run this action. The action is if. It will run the action if family room switch, the switch is what companion's paying attention to. If it is off, turn the switch on. Okay. It then takes the toggle and turns it back off. Okay. The toggle off is so that what you're doing on here is you're just simply running a scene that is turning the toggle on. And so it's just resetting it for you to do that again. And then if the switch is already on, then instead it's going to run this action. That's family room switch off. And then also it's going to make sure the toggle is off. Okay. So that is the actions that's going on. So if it's this, do this. Otherwise, do this. Okay. And that happens every time this toggle is turned on. Okay. So you've built this. Okay. You've got this all together. And you want to, now we need companion to pay attention to, in this case, the family room. Okay. So we'll go to companion. We'll go to triggers. And I've already built it, but I will walk through this. So we got Home Assistant, family room off, family room on. Okay, so let's go to the on. in companion, so you're going to make a condition. It's a feedback internal or check variable value. Okay. In my case, I'm looking for entity value, family room switch, and this is of course connected to Home Assistant and this complicated hoopla. But that's what we want. Make sure you get the value and don't accidentally get the name because they're the same thing. The only difference is one is the value, one is the name. So you have family room switched equals on. When the switch is on, companion will run the automation of turn family room on. Okay, so that's what's going on there. And then in the case of family room off, you go here. When the switch is off, turn family room off. So the concept is really straightforward. It's just getting it all put together. And so once you've done that, then now your scenes will respond now to the switch. So once you put in these triggers and you set up Home Assistant like that, now every time that switch is flipped, then Companion will do things. And so one of the things that we also have, if you notice, is we have our projectors. Okay. So we have left, right, and a both. Okay. Uh, and so I can sit here and I can turn on the projector. So this switch flips. You'll see this. It's going to boot up and change to green in a moment. But in Home Assistant, I have just triggered the projectors. And remember, Home Assistant can't talk to Companion, nor are our projectors integrated into Home Assistant at all. The projectors are a PJ link in Companion itself. So yeah, so they're just this. So this projector. So it's just running that scene. So the actual trigger for this is, let's see, we need, yeah, worship projector on. Okay. So this is what just ran. And so it sees that the projector is on, and then it sets the switch state there. Now, the same thing can apply to off. One of the things, though, is what happens if, in the case of projectors, which a great example is our old auditorium, that someone's doing an event and I see that it turned on. Okay. If I go in here, you can see auditorium. I can see the projectors on. Okay. Lights. Companion obviously can update the light easily here. But how do I make sure Home Assistant updates? Because the people in that auditorium do not have access to Home Assistant. They just simply grab a remote and go turn on the projector. So what do I do there? What is going on is in Companion, I have a feedback, okay, a switch status. So that's the worship projectors, old auditorium. So this status, what this does is it looks at the status of the projector. And if the projector equals on, then it takes the switch in Home Assistant and turns it on. Okay. It does the same thing for off. And so that keeps the status up to date, whether someone has turned it on with a remote, whether I have turned it on in Companion through a Stream Deck, whether I flipped the switch on my phone, whether I've gone into the Home Assistant app or the web browser and turned it on that way. No matter which way it goes, it is updating the status of the projector so that all systems are up to date. I will say that you need to very much think through that process because if you do this wrong, you can accidentally cause this to go into a loop of on off on off. You obviously don't want that to happen. I don't think it would really break anything. It's just, yeah, it obviously you don't want that to work or want that to happen. Um, so yes, that's essentially how all this is working is you have this loop going, this feedback going through, and you need to make sure that you build that correctly. So, and I have that for a bunch of things, even I have a small little ATEM in the old auditorium area. And so I can have that depending on the status of a switch of this switch, it will cause an action to happen in there. So this is just changing a feed. This isn't even turning the projector on and off. What this is doing, which this is fun, is if this switch in Home Assistant is off, then it wants to set that switcher to our Worship Center feed. And then it also sets the aux to program. Okay. Um, but if the switch is on, then it sets the switcher to iMac and sets the aux to program. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm controlling a Black Magic switcher, technically. A little ATEM switcher in this case, but I could do this for any action. So I flip this switch, I could change it. I could make a button in here. I haven't bothered. I didn't feel like I needed to. This button's only for the projector. Uh, but I could, if I wanted to do it to our big, uh, our 2ME ATEM, I could do it for that. Honestly, I wouldn't want to because I feel like that's more power than I need on my phone. But if you wanted to, you could do that. For streaming guys out there, this would be a way that you could control things on your phone. Uh, at home, like you're doing some streaming thing in a room and you're on the other side of the room, you could have your phone out triggering cameras while you're over there. So you want to show a wide shot while you're away from the desk and then come back to a shot of something on the other side of the room. There you go. And since it's Siri shortcuts, technically you could trigger that on your watch, I believe, if you have an Apple Watch. There's a bunch of things you could do with this. So now the final thing, and this pertains more to live production, um, but I very much think that you need to create a phone trigger disable button. Okay. So this button here, if I hit this button, okay, if we go over to companion and to triggers, you will see a bunch of things disabled. Okay. I have this automatically turn off Sunday mornings when I have an automation that turns the system on. So I have a system on automation that runs at 6:30 on Sundays. Okay. This goes through, turns on a bunch of things that we have. But then the other thing that it does, sets the status of them, but it disables all these triggers. Okay. And it's just the off part of the trigger because I want the system on. I don't care if I turn it on more, not that you can, but I don't care. Hey, something didn't fully trigger on for some reason, some automation didn't happen right. Um, I don't care to turn it on more. I just want to make sure I can't accidentally turn it off. And so this disables that because the last thing you want is I have a all off, all systems off button in here. I do not want that to accidentally be hit on someone's home screen, and all of a sudden we are shutting off the entire system. I'm sure someone would find that really funny, but I would find that very embarrassing. And so Sunday mornings, this phone trigger gets shut off, is disabled. And I have a button in on the Stream Deck to see that it's off. I have an automation to make sure it's off. I also have the button for like if we have any one-off events in the middle of the week that I want to manually set that. I can disable it that way. Okay. And then when everything is set and good, I can turn it on. So yeah. The one thing with this trigger and the way I have it set up, you'll see that everything just started shutting off. This trigger re-enables the off state. And so that means if systems are set to off already, in my case, like I have an all off button. And so I enable this, all off happens. So once you disable this, if you need to re-enable it, make sure your switches are where you want them to be. Or that in my case, since I have an all systems off, I'm okay with it shutting everything off. Now, the one thing you'll notice is uh, I don't have the all off like shut off the projector in the old auditorium. That's a different venue. So I just have status here and I have the ability to control it. But like it controls these projectors. So I wasn't worried about that accidentally like killing this. And that's very much understanding the logic of what you have going on. There's probably a better way I could handle like the all off stuff. Um, but I very much encourage this button so you don't accidentally trigger things that you don't want to trigger. Um, so yeah, after that, you have all kinds of things. Organize your Home Assistant nicely um, and stuff. Make sure you have update status. Like one of the other things I have is in the case of projectors, if I have left turn on and then right turn on separately, uh, Companion updates the center switch when both projectors are on to show both. Um, and so those statuses get updated. Same thing if they get triggered here, this will go to both if both get triggered on. Different things like that. So very important to do that the right way. Um, make sure you keep things updated. We'll go ahead and turn lights on. Um, and as you see, like I'm running Home Assistant and Companion's updating. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty handy. I've had a lot of fun. It's nice to pull this up on the phone. I almost get excited every time I use this. It's like I've made this. This is the coolest buttons ever. Um, so yeah, it's been a lot of fun lately because I made these buttons, and then if you're a Grand MA person, I've been playing with some crazy macros in Grand MA as well. So yeah, trying to think of anything else with this. Uh, you got all the crazy triggers. You got the status updates. So make sure you're setting it to update those things when they manually get turned on by like a remote. Uh, and yeah, I think that's everything. I hope this was helpful. I hope this gave some ideas. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you again. Bye.